Hey everybody, my name's Jared Miller. I'm alongside Oliver Hayes and Jimmie Searfoss from SCO Buff Sports. We got T-Mobile Arena behind us. I don't think you can see that, but right out the window here in Vegas for the Pac-12 Tournament. Got here yesterday morning. How's it going for both of you so far?
I mean, it's going great. I mean, I'm not 21 yet, so I can't enjoy all the festivities, but, I've still had a great time. The Pac-12, I mean, it's sad seeing it go because, being in T-Mobile Arena has been awesome. The atmosphere has been great. The fans have traveled well. Saw a pretty good Cal versus Stanford game, and, we'll talk about, Utah, Arizona State a little bit later and how abysmal that was. But, for me personally, a great first day, and, glad to be here.
I am 21, and I am enjoying the festivities. But it's been fun. We got credentials. You can go to all these games. We got crazy access and stuff. I'm having a good time. It's a good time.
Yeah. Also 21. I'm also having a good time with the other festivities. But yeah, yesterday we saw two games last night. Obviously, Stanford in a upset over Cal. A second half comeback, and then Utah versus Arizona State, the 6 versus 11 seed, facing the Buffaloes, the 3 seed. Utah took home the win in a cruise by in that game, basically. What do you guys see from Utah that could be a factor into the night's game?
I feel like the biggest takeaway from this game, just because it was such a lopsided victory, is just the fact that they were able to rest their guys a little bit more. I feel like this is a weird comparison, but they did what the women's team needed to do in the Pac-12 tournament, which is beat the brakes off the first-round matchup and get as much rest for your starters heading into a matchup that Colorado was favored in pretty heavily. So I don't know, didn't see too much last night, but definitely a big momentum builder for a Utah team that kind of struggled down the stretch of the regular season and dropped that second meeting to Colorado and Boulder.
Yeah, big-time confidence boost for them. If you're going to get worried about a team that you were maybe sleeping on a little bit in the tournament, you didn't want them to get a confidence boost like that. It's tough to sometimes even get an analysis from that game because they beat the brakes off that team. And basically the entire second half looked like an Arizona State team that didn't want to be there. So there were things that we can take away from it. Like they were drilling their shots, first of all. They were sinking them. If they had an open shot, they were hitting it. And they were definitely a lot more physical than that Arizona State team out there. I don't think that would be a problem for the Buffs. I think if the Buffs lose today, it's because they beat themselves. They just did not come out to play. But saw a big-time win from the Utah, big-time confidence booster. I think moral win is a lot more that we can take away from that.
And if this means anything, Sparky, the Arizona State Sun Devil mascot, had the best shooting percentage last night during his halftime performance with the other mascots. And interpret that how you will, but Arizona State definitely struggled, and Utah took advantage of that.
Chip put up a terrible performance. He did not get out there like we would expect him to. If it was a football field, that'd be something different. But Chip, kind of a crappy turnout for him.
All right. Well, hopefully it's not the same for the rest of the Buffaloes. Play tonight at 8:30 Pacific time, 9:30 Mountain time. Cody Williams expected back. Obviously the Buffs are on a 6-game win streak coming to the game. Is there any worry that adding another player to what's been working could disrupt some momentum they have, or are you guys not worried about that at all?
It's kind of funny because I feel like this is a conversation that just keeps coming up and coming up and coming up. Naturally you're going to have that about a player of Cody Williams' caliber, but, with just how kind of unpredictable this season has been overall, but also kind of just like the inconsistency with this Buffs team, you do wonder how these differing factors will play into things. But I feel like, Cody, he's a composed, mature player for his age, so I don't think he'll try and do too much when he gets back. I think he'll be able to pace himself. I'm a little worried about him dealing with the physicality because he's had some turnover issues this season, even when he's been healthy. And just dealing with that, some of those freshman lapses. So he'll probably be a little rusty. I'm sure Tad Boyle won't go to him straight away, just with how well the Buffs offense is clicking. But, like I said, Cody Williams is a high-caliber player, and so I wouldn't be surprised if by the second half he's, back to himself, driving to the basket. And I don't know, he may be a little rusty, but, I don't think it'll be too big of a shock for the Buffs, and I think Williams will get back in the groove of things.
Now, I thought about this. I did think about this a lot, and I was deciding if it would be a factor or not, because this team's playing hot right now. They look like they're moving the ball around great. And that's when this team is at the strongest, when they're moving the ball around, going fast pace. I mean, if you look at the games that they win, they're always faster than the other team, and that's when they're more efficient. Throwing Cody Williams back into the mix, I don't think is going to be a problem for him. They've been doing this all year long. They've been missing Cody Williams. This is not the first time. He's missed over 10 games this year. Not to mention, they've missed starters for long stretches of time. They missed De Silva for a period of the time. Cody Williams has been out before. Hammond's out. They've been doing this all year long. I don't think throwing him back in would be that big of a mix-up for him because they've done it before. And like I said, I think they're going to mix him in well. I wouldn't expect him to go in there and straight away take over. But I don't think it'll be an issue. They've done this before. They'll do it again. They're playing their best basketball right now. If they can show and stay hot, they might not even need him for this game.
And I don't know. I don't want to make my answer too much longer. But I think a lot of us think offensively, and this Buffs team has been great the whole year on offense. It hasn't been an issue. They've put up points. They've shot the ball well. I think Williams will have a big impact on the defensive end, and really I think that question mark really does show up on the offensive end with just how much of an impact he'll have. And I don't know. That's where, I feel like we may see some more of those issues, but as I mentioned, Colorado has been a great offensive team all year, and with Williams' frame and athleticism and how good he's been on defense, I think that will be where his true worth will show up in this tournament, especially shaking off some of that rust.
All right. So, as a game for the total of the game, what do you think the Buffs have to do to take home the win tonight?
And they just have to keep playing like they keep playing. I think they need to keep moving the ball well. Whenever the ball gets stagnant for any team, that always halts the offense. But Colorado specifically, it also raises the amount of turnovers. And we saw in the first meeting that turnovers were a big issue for the Buffs against Utah, narrowly losing that game on the road. In that second game, I believe that was Colorado's lowest turnover count of the year with just 4. So, Colorado has shown that they can, take care of the ball, but they've also shown that they can, be pretty risky with it as well. So I think the biggest thing will, be moving the ball, but be making smart passes and just getting everyone involved. Because when the Buffs can get everyone involved, that's when they're at their best.
This tournament comes down to a few things for me. Tristan De Silva, he needs to keep playing how he's been playing. We've seen Tristan De Silva kind of have a up and down year, but these last 6 games, he's been great. Defensively, offensively, he's been the guy that all these draft prospects or all these draft guys are talking about. We need him to stay consistent. We're going to get consistency from KJ Simpson. We know that. We're going to get consistency from Hadley. We need to get that same consistency from Tristan De Silva. They can get De Silva and Hadley and Cody Williams and am I missing anyone that's not?
Eddie Lampkin.
Eddie Lampkin. That's a dangerous team, and they've beaten, like everyone, like Oliver said this yesterday on a different video, but they've beaten all these guys before. They just beat the brakes off Utah not too long ago. If Tristan De Silva can play up to where we've seen in these last few games, I wouldn't expect any issues for the Buffs. Also, bench play. Bench has come up big lately. Like earlier in the season, they weren't getting that kind of depth off the bench, and they're missing Hammond right now, which is kind of a doozy, but they're getting consistent minutes from Bangot Dak, who's been great off the bench, the freshman coming in. And then Ruffin. Ruffin's been hitting his three-pointers. So if they can get some points off the bench, get the rest starters some rest, especially in a tournament, they're going to be looking good.
And in that second meeting, Assange Zope also played really well, specifically against Lawson Lovering. I know the fans were loving that. So
Jope, I like seeing Jope get up there and get physical because he looked timid earlier in the year, but he looks like he's finally got some confidence in the way he moves, and I like seeing that.
It is Vegas after all. The odds for this game, -200 for the Buffaloes to win. Probably about 30 minutes, an hour before we recorded this. Tonight, 9:30 Mountain Time, number 3 Colorado Buffaloes versus Lawson Lovering, former Buff, and the number 6 Utah Utes. But one thing I want to touch on, one last thing, is it is March after all. We're at the Pac-12 Tournament, but I mean, there's a bigger picture, the national tournament. What do you think this game has as an impact on the Buffs' future after this event's over?
I mean, this is a big game for both teams. Utah and Colorado have both been kind of neck and neck all year as far as where they've stood. Colorado has generally been higher in the net rankings, but as far as record and, I don't know, at least in Joe Lenardi's bracketology, they've been around the same, been around the same area. Colorado had a great end to the season where Utah did not. So, I mean, a win would pretty much cement a spot in the tournament for the Buffs, because this will, for both teams, this is technically right now a quad 1 win, but Utah is sitting at number 48 in the net ranking, so a loss may drop them outside of the top 50, would make it a quad 2 win for the Buffs. But either way, a win would pretty much certify Colorado making this tournament. A loss, I don't think it completely puts them out of the picture with how well they finished the season, but that would definitely hurt in the grand scheme of things. And for how little respect they've gotten from a lot of bracketologists and kind of the national media all year, I wouldn't be surprised if a loss did end up biting them in the butt. And as far as Utah, a win that narrowly keeps their hopes alive. So they'll be playing for their March Madness lives for sure. It'll be interesting. It'll be fun. But yeah, I don't know. That's kind of all I have to add.
I think you're right about that whole one loss. I wouldn't be surprised if it dropped them out. But come on, this team deserves to be in. 6 wins in a row to end the season, 3 of which came on the road against some tough opponents. USC just beat Arizona, not too long ago to end the season. Buffs need to be in the tournament. I think a win.
22 wins. It's hard to keep a team with 22 wins
I
out.
know, exactly. I think they're in. I don't think it's even an issue at this point. But just to be safe, give me another one here. Give me another one after that. Then they're going to turn it into like a cherry on the top situation.
All right, I think that's all we have. Jimmie Searfoss, Oliver Hayes, I'm Jared Miller, and you heard it here first.